Hey, what's going on? Logan back once again for Reversal, and we've got more Street Fighter 6 content for you with a different twist this time. Street Fighter 6 is one of the most successful fighting game releases of all time. The numbers are sky high, and we're not just talking about the review scores. It's little wonder why a lot of top professionals are moving over to Street Fighter 6. But if you want to try the game out and you're coming from a different fighting game title, well, we've got some tips for you. We spoke to the team to ease you in to Street Fighter 6. As with all Street Fighter titles, Street Fighter 6 and Street Fighter 5 have a huge amount of similarities, but at their core mechanics, there are differences that completely change the strategies you need to employ to win. The game has a really good tutorial system to teach you the specifics of the drive system, and that's a video all in its own. One of the biggest changes mechanically is the removal of the priority system from Street Fighter 5. Attacks landing on the same frame will now just trade with each other, and you will need to lab to identify which situations allow you to follow up with combos. Now strikes beat throws. This is the reverse of Street Fighter 5. And when you land an attack on the same frame as a throw, you'll score a counter hit. Throws are just as fast as they were before, but now they have 6 frames more recovery, which makes a delay throw tech a very risky defensive option to go for. Backdashes are now entirely grounded for their full animation, so this means you will not be air reset when hit at any point. They are, however, throw invincible from frame 1, so will still escape throws in this way. On offense, with throws being 5 frames still, the +2 situation will still lead to a throw beating out any button, as the fastest attacks are 4 frames. So you can frame trap with your own 4 or 5 frame attack, or go for a trade combo off of a stronger 6 frame button. Normal attacks which have plus frame advantage on block are very rare, but light chains are not true block strings, so you can trap people as most characters have a 3 light confirm string. This can still lead into quite large amounts of damage. There's now only 2 wake ups, and they both have the same timing, just that the distance changes, and you can do them from throws. This was not the case in Street Fighter 5. On landing, you will automatically do the neutral version, which would have previously been referred to as a quick rise. And if you press buttons on landing, you will do the back recovery version and get up the same timing but further across the screen. There are still hard knockdowns which don't permit back roll, and on punish counter, you will get additional frames of advantage on knockdown. These are all things to take into consideration when trying to put together your winning strategy in Street Fighter 6 as a Street Fighter 5 player.
How to play Street Fighter 6 if you're a Smash player, Melee or Ultimate doesn't matter. It is a completely different game with health bar, combos and fixed knockback, a directional guard and so on. So I could cover many different aspects of the game, but we're gonna focus on 2, mobility and 𝐸𝐸𝐸. In Smash, we love to dash everywhere, jump and play like we had our 3rd coffee in the past 30 minutes. But in Street Fighter, you need to calm down. Neutral is way more static, with micro-spacing management rather than macro-spacing. Dashing can be an offensive or defensive option, but puts you in a vulnerable state. Stay on your spot, walk in, walk out, find your poke, but don't go dashing in all directions. The same applies for jumping, as it can be brutally punished. You have no protection, no air dodge, no drift back, no double jump whatsoever. A jump is a commitment. Simply put, learn to stop moving. In Smash, we love to take shades, making the opponent fall, reading or reacting to his tech option, and punishing it. You have some similarities in Street, as you can wake up neutral or backward, but the most important part comes afterward. In Street, you are more focused on what the player does on wake up. Does he guard, press a button, etc. You can compare it as a ledge trap situation. His options are limited and he needs to pick one. You have to know what option he is able to pick and figure out solutions, covering most of it. When your opponent is on the ground, he has his option limited and you are free to act. The more time you are free to act, the better it is to apply a plan. Like safe jumps, meaty, and so on. Don't be hasty at hitting them on wake up, as some characters have some strong reversal options.
What
What's up guys, Damascus here. Just like a lot of people, I'm currently learning Street Fighter 6. I do play multiple fighting games, and for me, I got to learn Strive from a Street Fighter player point of view before. So what if you are a Strive player looking to play Street Fighter 6? Here is what I believe you should know. First off, let's talk about movement and neutral. Movement in Strive is much more freeform. You can run, dash, air dash, and you can even use RSE for movement. You might feel much more restricted on SF6, but see it as a way different approach. On Strive, neutral is quite active. You want to take the initiative as soon as possible and put your opponent under pressure. While on Street Fighter, you would want to take control of your opponent's action in a more reactive way. The best example of this is anti-airing. 6P is the one button you learn early, but with air block, it isn't a guaranteed anti-air, right? On Street Fighter, each character more or less has a 6P equivalent. You'll want to simply learn what you go to anti-air and make sure your opponent never jumps on you. You can also see Drive Impact as Street Fighter 6th version of Charge Dusts. You learn to block Charge Dust on Strive, make sure you also do the same with DI. For combos, most Street Fighter combos are links. Strive does not really run with links, but you can picture a standard Ram corner combo. She does not cancel much, right? She generally juggles with you move after move. Street Fighter 6 has the same concept, but with normals. I could say a lot more about it, but right as I was working on this, I saw Diaphone posted a way more detailed video about learning Street Fighter 6 from a Strive point of view. So if you want more details on this, make sure you go check out Diaphone's channel, link in description, because the video is absolutely amazing.
Hello guys, how's it going? Tyrant here, and I'm here to help you get to grips with Street Fighter 6 if you're coming from a Dragon Ball FighterZ perspective. First things first, the obvious. Dragon Ball FighterZ is a 3 vs 3 tag team fighting game, and Street Fighter 6 is not. It is a 1v1 fighting game, so the first thing that you would need to get used to is having just one character as opposed to 3. So life management in Dragon Ball might be a bit more tricky, but Street Fighter, you've just got one life bar to worry about. Having just one character on your team as opposed to 3 means you really need to pay attention to specific character matchups. So what is it that makes your character strong? And how do they use those tools specifically to fight certain characters? You do this of course to an extent in Dragon Ball as well, but it doesn't primarily dictate how the matchup goes. Universal mechanics and other factors really play into that. In Street Fighter, every matchup is super important, and it really comes down to how you use your character's toolset to fight another's. The next thing that's very important to take note of is the fact that Dragon Ball is such a movement-based game. Air dashing, super dashing, movement-based specials, there's a lot of tools in this game that really do help you navigate the screen. And that's not to say that Street Fighter is not a movement-based game. Movement is very important in that as well, but I would say in Street Fighter, primarily, you should be focusing on your ground-based footsie game. Paying attention to your opponent's neutral and really trying to whiff punish their mistakes, anti-airing accordingly, and taking advantage of every mistake they make in neutral is so much more critical in Street Fighter. So yeah, all the air dash stuff, all the assist calls, all the super dashing, try and get that out of your head to now and just focus on a solid ground-based game plan. It's going to take you a lot further in the long run, so just try and focus on your opponent's movements, how they play the game, and how you can use your character's tools to counter it accordingly. The next thing I would say that's worth getting used to in Street Fighter as opposed to Dragon Ball is be prepared to be challenged a bit more with inputs and execution. So in Dragon Ball, you just use quarter circles and down inputs for specials and supers. In Street Fighter, you're going to have a bit more of an execution involved when it comes to performing these specials and supers. So you're going to have Dragon Punch inputs or 6-2-3 inputs. You're going to have double quarter circle forward and back inputs to execute supers. But don't let that put you off. Dragon Ball FighterZ is a high execution game in its own right. Street Fighter is as well, just in a different way. So don't let that put you off. Keep training, work on your muscle memory and inputs until they feel natural. And I look forward to playing you in Street Fighter 6.
What's up guys, my name is Bubsy and I specialize in Tekken, and you would see me across many of the broadcasts for the Tekken World Tour. So making the transition from Tekken to Street Fighter may seem daunting at first, but you'll be surprised at the amount of core elements that translate through all fighting games that you can actually bring from Tekken into Street Fighter. So you know, you got like the block punishment, the whiff punishment, the good spacing and space management, all of that from Tekken you can bring straight into Street Fighter. You know, frame numbers obviously going to be different. Whiff punishment is also there, but I feel like you approach it slightly different in Street Fighter. So for instance, in Tekken Tekken, you more visually see a move whiff and punish accordingly, because Tekken moves are kind of slower, so you have more time to kind of see. Don't get me wrong, in Street Fighter that does happen. You have heavier buttons and, you know, whiff specials that you can very visually see that and whiff punish it, but you also kind of want to anticipate the whiff in Street Fighter. Now, what I mean by that is you'll kind of stick out a button from a range hoping to clip your opponent's button. And you see this a lot in gameplay, where you see a player dancing in and out of a range because they're looking for you to press that button and then clip you with like maybe a standing light kick and buffer that into a special move to kind of whiff punish. And obviously with Street Fighter, the move list is a lot shorter, so there's not much they have to think about in that kind of range, where in Tekken, if you're at that kind of range, you know, there's like 100, potentially 100 moves. So, you know, I feel like if you learn that kind of like dancing at range and kind of anticipating whiff punishing, you score a lot more whiff punishes that way. I'd also suggest picking a character that suits your playstyle. I feel that is very important. So for me, I'm a patient player who likes to pick apart my play and dictate the match pace at my own level, at my own, however I want to play the matches, how I want the match to go. So I felt when I picked up the game, JP, that character was for me. You may be a rushdown specialist, so Cammy will be for you. High risk, high reward. You may want to go for a command grab character like a Zangief from Anon, or you may like a trickier stance character, so Chun-Li's there. I really feel that Street Fighter 6 has a character archetype that will enable you to, you know, transport your strong set from one game into another. And one big hurdle that it's tripped me up when I started to try and learn Street Fighter to a higher level is blocking. Now in Tekken, we traditionally hold back to block. In Street Fighter, in most instances, you want to hold down back. And now the amount of times I've been in a pressure situation where it's been like at the end of round and I've blocked to jump in, I've continued to hold back and I've been clipped low and they've converted into a super and I've lost the round, only because, like, you know, natural instinct in that moment said you need to block, hold back, whereas you primarily want to hold down back, and it's kind of backwards to how Tekken is. So that's going to be a huge thing if you're making that transition.
The things I know from Mortal Kombat that are good to use in Street Fighter 6 is patience. I think that's the main one, because it doesn't matter what fighting game you're in, every player has a limit to how long they'll take before they crack and do something stupid. So I think that's a good thing to transfer across. Alright, so the system mechanics in 6 that are similar to NRS games, you've got flawless block, which is perfect parry. It's just that in this game, the risk reward's a bit different, because you can't really grab a flawless block in Mortal Kombat, but in this game it gets punished by grab. But the reward is also freer, so it's near enough the same thing. So you'll see Mortal Kombat players already being used to that whole mechanic. Drive rush is run. That is literally just copy paste run. So like if you go watch MKX, you'll see people running at each other. You see this game, they're running at each other. That's the game. And throw loops. Throw loops are that's NRS all over. There's throw loops all over the place in those games as well. And obviously in this game it's running rampant, but the throw is a mid in this game, which makes it even worse, because at least in NetherRealm games you can duck them, down to them, something like that. But I have found that there are certain options that mimic that. So if you was watching how I was doing air legs as Chun-Li against people's throws, it's a similar sort of concept. Like, if you're going to take that gamble, don't bother teching, just do something that will punish their throw rather than just nullify it, you know? My advice for any Mortal Kombat players coming from Mortal Kombat to Street Fighter is anti-air. Like, you know how you're playing against Scorpions in Combat League and they're going to jump? You just got to think they're like that. Street Fighter players are going to jump. They're going to jump. Just wait for the jump. Watch how I died to the jump. That and let it be the lesson for you, right? This coming. The jump is coming. Just wait for it. And other than that, just treat it like a Mortal Kombat game. Throw them to death. Do something when they want to do something about the throw. Straightforward. Don't complicate yourself. Do I think if someone's good at Mortal Kombat? I know that if someone's good at Mortal Kombat, they can be good at Street Fighter, right? I've got examples. Sonic Fox, 𝐸𝐴𝐸, Kombat, Ninja Killer, all of them are ridiculous, and there's probably more right now that are doing good. I just haven't even been watching. Oh, did I say rewind? Okay, yeah, maybe I said rewind, I don't know, but they're definitely good Mortal Kombat heads. I think the skills do really transfer. This game feels like a Mortal Kombat game.
I hope you've been loving the Street Fighter 6 content, but we're going to be back to covering all of the fighting game titles throughout our various different platforms here on Reversal. We've got the Roundup every Tuesday, where we check at tournament results from around the entirety of the FGC. And of course, we've got so many online and offline events happening, it's too many to run down in one video. So make sure you're following us on social media. That's at @reversal_GG. And if you just want to hang out and have a good time with our live streams, you can find us on Twitch. That's @reversalGG. Make sure you give us a sub here on YouTube. Drop some comments if you found this video useful. Thank you to everybody that was involved in helping us make this. We'll see you next time on Reversal.